Welcome. Today I would like to talk about a request by one of the viewers, Rick Paul from Italy. And the viewer asked me to record a video on my game against Raphael Lagunow from the World Blitz, where I played the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit. And this was the second day of the World Blitz. The first day didn't really go my way, so I decided to really spice it up and have fun the second day. And that's the game which we are going to see. I started the game with move d4 and now played this move e4, just blundering a pawn on move 2. Well, jokes aside, this is of course the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit, which is a crazy opening. Definitely not a good opening for white, but for a blitz game, it's something where you can surprise your opponent with. After knight c3, my opponent decided to keep the pawn with the move knight to f6. And here we see the idea of the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit, namely to play this move f3. He took the pawn. I think other moves are also possible, for instance, bishop f5. But after takes back, he now made the first small inaccuracy, namely the move e6. So if he goes g6, then black is kind of a pawn up. Black will go for bishop g7, castles, bishop g4. And yes, white is slightly ahead in development, but it's definitely not enough, even for equality for white. So instead, he went for this move e6. And now I have at least very free piece play. This bishop on c8 is completely castled in by this pawn on e6. And at least for a blitz game, I think that the chances are already decent for white. Went for the move bishop to d3. He played castles, and now I went for this move queen to e2. Of course, with the idea of long castles and mating him in romantic style with h4 or something like that later on. I was mainly expecting the move knight to c6 here, and here I was ready to either go for long castles, but then maybe knight b4 could be an idea, or maybe even play the move a3, when after takes, queen takes. Black is 2 pawns up, but at least in a blitz game, after long castles, it seems that white's position is much easier to play. You can attack the king, and these guys are still not taking part in the game. So in a blitz game, I would definitely prefer to be white as well here. That said, my opponent went for this move knight b2 d7. We see that, of course, these pieces do not really partake in the game at this point. Long castles, so for h6, bishop h4. And now here black really has to play more active than what he did in the game. So he played the move c7 to c6. He could definitely try something else, like for instance playing c5, maybe b6 or something else. When we have a kind of a Rubinstein position, like in the French Rubinstein, without this pawn on f2, and I think white is also some tempi up compared to the classical Rubinstein. In any case, he went for this move c6, which I think is a serious mistake. And after rook h g1, white is definitely already better. So my plan is quite simple. Caveman style, g4, g5, and just mate the king. So my opponent thought, okay, let's at least exchange some pieces. Went for the move knight to d5. This looks quite reasonable. And at first I was a little bit surprised that it's so easy to exchange stuff. But then I thought, okay, if I exchange stuff, I still have my attack on the king going. So I, in the end, decided just to take on d5, take on e7, and go for g4. And the point is that his pieces are still not playing. So it's quite telling what the computer wants to do here. Namely, the computer wants to even go e5 here, just sacking a pawn, and after takes just to go for something like knight c5, and the computer says white is clearly better here. Unsurprising, you can still just go for this kind of an attack, but at least now this bishop takes part in the game. Instead, my opponent, it was a blitz game, let's not overanalyze this, went for the move b5. Offering me to take this pawn, but I'm not interested at all. I wanted to mate him, and this was my entire goal with playing the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit, so I didn't take this lonely pawn on b5, but instead just continued my attack with g5, threatening g takes h with a devastating attack. So he had to move away, but now g6 is completely crushing. If he takes, I can just take back with a bishop, and this doesn't make things better either. So instead he went for this move f5. But now the problem is that the h5 pawn is just way too weak. I go for rook g5, attacking the pawn. Knight f6, and now just knight e5, preparing to take this pawn with a rook and to then start the mating attack on the king. He wanted to create some luft for the king to potentially run out later, but of course I can just continue my plan and take on h5. So he didn't take back. Note that if he took the rook here, then I could just take back, threaten checkmate. And if he tries to defend like this to create some luft for the king, I can even go knight to c6. And this renews the threat of checkmate, and yeah, black can resign. Instead, he went for bishop to a6. Definitely white has more than one winning move here. I went for rook h3 back, preparing to potentially just swing over the king and the queen, or something like this. And yeah, there's nothing he can do. Try to activate some pieces, but now queen e1 threatens queen h4 with checkmate. So he defended it like this, but now knight f7 is coming. I could also have played knight f7 on one of the moves before, I think, so nothing to overanalyze here. And my opponent was kind enough not to give up his queen, but to actually allow me to finish the game in style by checkmating him. Yeah, very nice game, of course. Feels nice to play such a game, especially after a very shitty first day in the World Blitz. And yeah, I thought it was a fun game. Nothing we should take too seriously or overanalyze. But if you want to surprise your opponent in the opening in a Blitz game, I think the Blackmar-Diemer is not a bad choice. Well, that's it for me today, and see you next time.